I'm Johnny Jenkins from Gateway 97.8, a community radio station in Basildon, and we're here at the Force Control Room at Essex Police with Roger Hirst, the Police Fire and Crime Commissioner for Essex, and BJ Harrington, the Chief Constable for Essex Police. Now, I've got a question here from Colin, who says, why is so little notice being taken of shoplifting by the police? It seems that unless what they steal exceeds, say, £500 in one go, shopkeepers are expected to almost turn a blind eye.
I mean, shoplifting is a crime and it's important to people. It causes loss to businesses and it hurts people. When you look at the people in this room here in the control room, we've got to make assessments based upon threat, upon risk and upon harm. And of course things like, assaults and danger to people will always take the priority. That doesn't mean to say we're ignoring shoplifting. Our town centre teams are working more with businesses to help them prevent that. We're forming a business crime team working with the Chamber of Commerce to prevent and help businesses be safer and prevent crime against businesses, because they're important to our communities and the welfare of our communities. We have increased the number of shoplifters that have been arrested over the last year and who have been brought to justice. And of course, we make assessments based upon the value of the loss. £500 to a massive international company perhaps can be absorbed. £500 to a sole trader who is their family business is very different. We make that assessment based upon those kind of considerations, but we will always prioritise the harm and the threat that causes, including the value.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely key that we work with the businesses as well as to make sure that it's as tricky for people to do it as it possibly can be.
Mary in Southend asks about burglary, and she says, when are people getting burgled going to be more important than dealing with drunks on the seafront? She talks about experience she had where people called the police and they said, sorry, our police are too busy dealing with drunks on Southend seafront.
Well, straight away, burglary is a massive impact on people's lives. We have, in the success story, reduced the number of burglaries across the county over the last year. That's still too many, and that hurts people in their homes where they should be safe. The priority of this force, and you ask anyone in this room, they will tell you we go to burglaries, we attend burglaries, we investigate burglaries, and we keep people safe around that. And that's a clear priority from me. I take a personal interest every day in making sure we attend that. Of course, there are times when we can't get there because there's another incident happening, but be assured, a drunk on the seafront or in a town centre will never, ever trump or prevent us going to a burglary. But someone being attacked on the seafront or being assaulted in a town centre or somewhere will, of course, because that's violence and that's happening now.
But I think it is a good proof of the fact that we actually do know what works. So the tactics we've put in place around burglary, now we've got some more resource to do that with, have really been very successful, and I'm sure they will continue to be.
Another question here, it would seem that we, the general public, are being conditioned to accept that theft, antisocial behaviour, drug taking, motoring offences are acceptable in the community. I don't accept that the laws of the UK should be ignored and would want government, police and the media to work together to reset normality. What would you say to that?
I'd say please, no, don't think that for a minute. So absolutely, we need people to report crime, otherwise we can't deal with it. From my perspective as the person who has to win resources for this service, it's absolutely key to me that we know the scale of what the problem is. If we don't know that, I have a very weak evidence base for going to the Home Office and asking for more grant funding, and indeed for coming to the Public of Essex and asking for more funding to deal with the issues that we have from the council tax. So none of that you described there is stuff that we want to ignore. Actually, it's stuff that we need to deal with, and it's also stuff we need to deal with because we do know that there are ways into crime that if we don't deal with the small stuff, it can escalate.
So why is it, you think, that people seem to believe this, that seem to think, theft, antisocial behaviour, drug taking are being ignored? Why do people think that?
Well, they can be assured that it's not being ignored. But I think there is the issue, as we know, around threat, harm and risk, that the police have to respond to the harder stuff first. But I think absolutely key is that we've recognised the issue around having reduced the size of neighbourhood and community policing too far. We have reinvested in that now, and that is very much around prevention of precisely the sort of issues that you're talking about there. But it's also key to recognise that we don't think that job's done. So it's really good news that the government is now supporting 20,000 extra cops over the next 3 years. Essex will get its share of those. That should mean another 150 next year, and that will mean by the end of that 20,000 uplift programme, Essex Police is larger and stronger than it's ever been before, and we can deal with those sorts of issues.
And we're not ignoring those issues, but I think everyone watching this and the public would expect us to deal with those things that hurt people the most, that are the most urgent and the highest priority first of all, and we do, and we have to prioritise those. But I would give you some examples, things like the town centre teams, the rural engagement team, the work our community policing teams are doing in partnership is starting to see some of these reduce. If you speak to residents in Southend, and certainly the businesses there, they'll report that. I was talking to the shopping centres in Harlow, out on foot patrol with a local officer there, and the feedback from retailers was that some of these things are being treated differently. We're getting to them, we're arresting people, but we're also preventing it, whether it's the drug taking, the antisocial behaviour, working with our local authority partners and others, to deal with the mental health issues that causes the man to sleep on the street and take drugs, which upsets people as they go to work or unlock the shop. We're reinvesting in that. We're trying to prioritise some of those things, but where someone's being hurt now, where it's domestic abuse in someone's home, whether they're being attacked on their way to work or way home, then they'll always take the priority. But please, we are doing lots of things to work with people to reduce it.
Maybe just one good example, actually, new powers. So I know just recently we actually used the community behaviour order to stop hair coursing. And that's success of the rural engagement team, better use of new powers, and that rural engagement team has actually been hugely successful. So I think hair coursing is down by about half in the last year in this county. So it really is worth reporting it, because then we can deal with it.